Would you pay to hear Casey's side of the story? Would you read a book if she wrote one? And would you believe anything she has to say? And what should happen to parents like Casey who fail to report a missing child? Is the law making it illegal to do so really necessary? We'll debate Casey's future and CAYLEE'S Law right now on It's Your Call. Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lynn Doyle. Our topic this hour is once again Casey Anthony, as the fallout from her not guilty verdict continues to resonate all across the country. Later in the show, we're going to talk about her options for a new life, including being paid for a tell-all interview. But first, right off the top, we turn our attention to CAYLEE'S Law. That's legislation that's being sponsored all over the country, making it illegal for parents to fail to report a missing child. You may recall that Casey did not report CAYLEE missing for more than a month. Then she misled authorities and cost the state of Florida millions of dollars in its investigation. That's led Florida legislators to change its laws. Florida State Senator Mike Fasano was the first Florida senator to request CAYLEE'S Law legislation, and he is joining us from Newport Richey, Florida, live on the telephone. Hello, Senator. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for allowing me to participate.
Tell me why you felt it was important to implement a law in the state of Florida to make sure that this kind of thing never happened again.
Well, you know, as did everyone else pretty much in the country and beyond, we all took a keen interest in this case. You know, when I realized that there was an important point that was not being made in a forceful fashion, I decided to take legislative action along with my colleagues. The point that concerned many of us was the 31 days between little CAYLEE'S disappearance and the day the police were finally notified. And of course, as we know now, there's no law in Florida that requires that a missing child be reported to law enforcement within a certain time frame. And I truly believe, as do many others, that if there had been such a law on the books, this case may have turned out quite differently.
So as we all know, Senator, she was acquitted of the more serious charges and convicted only of failing to give investigators proper information or misleading investigators. Had this kind of law been in effect, she probably would have been found guilty, correct?
That is correct. In fact, the legislation that we're proposing would pretty much say that a caretaker, someone like a Casey Anthony, or anyone else who willfully or culpable negligence fails to make contact or to verify the whereabouts of a child 12 years or age or younger within a 48-hour period of time. And of course, she definitely failed to do that. She failed to do that for 31 days.
Yeah, that is what usually gets the most emotion from people all across the country. Do you feel that if this law not only takes effect in Florida, but all across America, that it in some way gets that justice for CAYLEE that the jury did not give her?
Well, I would never question the jury's decision. I may not agree with the jury's decision, but I accept it because that's part of our democratic process and our judicial system. Certainly, whatever we do is never going to bring CAYLEE back.
Right.
But we do need to do something to make certain that this never happens again. To think that a parent went for 31 days without reporting her child missing. Look, I know I'm the youngest of five, and if I went missing for just a few minutes, my mom was looking for me real quickly.
Absolutely.
And it's disturbing to know that she was not convicted and is sentenced to jail, even just for not reporting her daughter missing for 31 days. But in the bill that we're proposing, this will make certain that that will never happen again.
All right, Florida State Senator Mike Fasano, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.
Thank you. You as well. Now, of course, Florida is not the only state. Other states are following its lead as well, including in our area. New Jersey State Senator Diane Allen is the deputy minority leader, and she's introduced CAYLEE'S Law in her state, while State Senator Larry Farnese is sponsoring similar legislation in the state of Pennsylvania. I welcome you to the program this hour. You just heard Senator Fasano in Florida explain why he felt it was important to introduce the legislation there. Why do you want to see it enacted in New Jersey?
Really the same basic thing. We have a law on endangering the welfare of a child, and our bill in New Jersey would amend that and simply say the same idea. If you don't report a child being missing or being dead within a 24-hour period, then all of the parts of the law come into being. So you would go to jail for between 3 and 10 years, depending on what it was. You would have to pay a fine of up to $150,000. The bottom line on it is children don't have a voice. And so we legislators need to be the voice for those who don't. And that's why we legislators need to watch out for the young children.
It seems just too unfathomable to imagine that a caretaker or a loved one would not report a child. Is it really necessary to have legislation like this, or is it a 1 in a million case like Casey Anthony where it occurs?
Absolutely, I think it's important. I mean, the people that are not going to report their child missing within 24 hours are guilty. That's the truth here, and that's what we have. I mean, with my piece of legislation, very similar to Senator Allen's, we're going to have a 24-hour period of time to report the child. And what is so surprising, Lynn, is that in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania right now, there is no piece of legislation even similar that requires a parent or guardian or caretaker to report their child within 24 hours. I think that is just amazing.
Is it like that in New Jersey as well?
Exactly. We don't have anything like this. We've been trying to get Jessica's law through, which would do something along the same lines in New Jersey, which would say if you know about a child that is has been kidnapped or has been taken or is basically away from where they should be and you don't tell, you're in trouble. But we've not been able to get that passed in New Jersey, one of the few states that hasn't passed Jessica's law.
And you can just imagine how that child felt. I mean, again, when you think about why we did these things, why we introduced this legislation, speaking for the child, fearful. Can you imagine the fear that that child felt, not knowing what was going on? A 2-year-old child. I mean, it's reprehensible, the conduct of that mother.
And it's heartbreaking for all of us who watched it. If you'd like to tell us what you think, you can email me at any time at lynn@lynndoyle.net. Now, you might not think that anyone would oppose such legislation, but think again. Attorney Jeff Gold, who, as you know, is a longtime legal analyst here on It's Your Call and a former prosecutor, actually opposes the proposed CAYLEE'S Law, as does Attorney Richard Hark. They are now joining our discussion. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us, but you're going to have to explain to me why anyone would be opposed to something that would seemingly protect a child.
Our country's been around for 200 years. There's laws about many different things that have been passed by legislators over many years. Obviously, this hasn't come up because the parents who care for their children, who take care of their children, don't kill their children. The fact whether the jury came back with a guilty verdict or not has no bearing on a parent's responsibility to their child. What this legislation attempts to do is legislate a parenting responsibility. The parents who are going to act in a manner that will harm their child, or a guardian who will harm a child that they are caring for, is not going to report that they just can't find their child.
Because they're breaking the law
anyway. If you commit murder, the fact and the manner within which you commit murder, whether it's endangering the welfare of a child, aggravated sexual assault of a child, rape of a child, shooting a child, this is just one more minor aspect of which that person has no concern.
Yeah, I don't exactly agree with Richard on that. I think the sentiment of these laws are right. I mean, after all, what's happened is we've all seen somebody who in our gut we feel is guilty get away with murder. And so there's some redress that may be required. I do think the New Jersey provision is too strict in the sense that it makes it a second degree with a mandatory 3 years. I think an amendment of our present law that would say it is abuse and neglect under Title IX to failure to report would solve the issue. We don't want to punish everybody who doesn't report as if it's murder. That's where I disagree.
Well, I mean, I think when you're talking about reporting, again, I mean, you know, who doesn't report a child missing after 24 hours? And the second part is the overlap argument. I think the overlap argument, if there was similar laws in place right now, this one will be in jail.
Okay, on that note, I do have to take a quick break, but we're going to give our viewers an opportunity to weigh in here and tell us what you think. Do you support CAYLEE'S Law? You've heard a little bit about it here. Is it just common sense to report a missing child? And then later in the show, we're going to ask what you think about Casey Anthony. Should she get a second chance? After all, she was found not guilty. This is the land of second chances in America. What do you think? Give us a call. Email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net during the break.